So today we're going to be talking about steroids. We're going to be talking about what are the steroids that are used in bodybuilding, what is testosterone, what are some of the effects, the health benefits versus the health risk, and what's my opinion on that. Okay, so really I wanted to create this episode because I think there's a lot of misinformation in the industry, and if I can be the one to help out and uncover all the myths, all the misinformation, and using my medical knowledge to just bring clearness to this industry, because at the end of the day, I think a lot of people, regardless of what anybody says, I think they're gonna still use substances. I think people are gonna continue to do it, and I think because of the judgment that medical industry, the society has towards those people, there are not many people talking about what is the physiology behind these products, what is the mechanism by which they work, and so I think that, like I said, the next few episodes I want to come in and create something that people like me, when I was getting started, that I didn't know anything about, and I just took the random thing that the guy at the gym gave me. I don't want people to make that mistake. Just to be clear, right now in this moment of my life, I don't take anything just because of the reasons that I will be laying out in this episode. I don't see the need for me, for my particular goals, but I also don't judge people that want to take that step and want to perform better at the gym, want to enhance their physique, because I do understand how important that can be for someone that's their career. But that is something that you will have to determine after learning about what are steroids, what is testosterone, what it does to your body. Okay, so let's jump into it. When we talk about steroids in the context of bodybuilding, building muscle, etc., we're talking really about mainly testosterone derivatives, right? So testosterone is the male hormone. It helps the body develop the secondary male characteristics, the extra muscle, the bone density, the libido, develop the testes, all that stuff. So what people have done is basically they have recreated this molecule in synthetic ways. So the body has different types of androgens. So the body has basically different versions of testosterone, and they all serve as androgens. The body can produce testosterone itself, but it also has a derivative that is dihydrotestosterone. It has intermediates called androstenedione, which is an intermediate in the biosynthesis of testosterone and estrogen. And so these are the main three forms in which testosterone or the androgens exist in your body, right? It's testosterone, dihydrotestosterone, and androstenedione. So what the labs do, and what basically it's done for you to take, steroids, is they go into a lab and they basically synthesize this molecule, testosterone, and they just add different functional groups, and that will just change the half-life of the compound, right? So you could have the same base molecule, testosterone propionate, for example, that will have a half-life of about 1 or 2 days, and then you can have testosterone enanthate, and that will have a half-life of 5 to 6 days, and that just changes how often you need to take that products, right? So I'm gonna call the product here just referring to either the testosterone or the derivative. For example, there's also another series of testosterone derivatives that are derived from DHT, the dihydrotestosterone. You've got Masteron, you've got Primobolan, and a bunch of other compounds, Winstrol, all these compounds that are just basically derived from DHT, and because of that, they're used in the sense of not having aromatizing effects. And we'll talk about what happens with testosterone later and what aromatization is. But for now, we just need to know that really there are three main ways in which androgens are found in the body. And that's why we need to be really careful with what we take, because if you don't know any of this stuff, you shouldn't be taking anything. Now, let's talk about testosterone. What testosterone is basically responsible for the development of secondary sexual characteristics like, face hair, body hair, Adam's apple. It's responsible for the sexual function of the male and the libido, so that just wanting to have sex, that's what that means. You have a lot of testosterone. Muscle mass, strength, that is very related to the levels of testosterone, right? So people that have more testosterone naturally will have more mass, more strength than people who don't naturally. The people that have more testosterone will have more bone density. People who have more testosterone will have better fat distribution in their body, right? Meaning that they're not gonna build as much fat in the abdominal region versus other regions, and so that also has to do with testosterone. More testosterone also means less fat. More testosterone means more production of red blood cells, better mood, better energy, right? So all those things are related to testosterone. And specifically, when it comes to building muscle and strength, testosterone will stimulate the production of protein synthesis. So it'll have a couple of pathways in which it'll reach the nucleus of the cell. It'll stimulate the transcription of certain genes. And what's going to happen is that your body's just going to start producing more protein, right? You're going to have increased nitrogen retention, which is basically related to anabolism. So your body is going to be in a muscle building mode for longer. Activation of satellite cells, and these are cells that are helping the muscle basically repair faster. So it's going to help with that muscle repair, muscle recovery. Stimulation of growth hormone secretion. So growth hormone will happen when you need to basically build muscle. That's the release of growth hormone. It'll stimulate that, so growth hormone will grow. Increase in muscle fiber size, so hypertrophy is going to be responsible for that as a consequence of more growth hormone, better recovery, more stimulation of protein synthesis, and it's going to inhibit protein breakdown. So this is why it's very commonly used when you're on a huge cut and you don't want to lose any muscle. People will take testosterone just to reduce that protein breakdown, because when you're in a caloric deficit, you're gonna break a lot of protein, right? Now, it's clear that testosterone itself, people who have more testosterone naturally will have all of these benefits. It's not just the injection of testosterone, it's just also having natural testosterone will promote these benefits. Now, we'll talk about physiological levels later, but basically when someone has high levels of testosterone, there is a range in which testosterone is physiological. And physiological just means that there are no adverse effects coming from it. It's mostly going to be something that it's helping you, right? There is a range in which outside of that range, you're going to start getting into supraphysiological levels. At non-physiological levels in medicine, non-physiological is just really something that's going to have an adverse effect on you. So that's why it's not necessarily taking testosterone that is bad, is how much you take, which compounds you take, and how are these compounds interacting with your body. And so it's very important that you understand this. If you don't understand this, you shouldn't buy anything, you shouldn't take anything. Now, let's talk about some of the adverse effects, right? Because so far we've talked about how it helps you build muscle, it helps you recover better, but how about the adverse effects that testosterone will have, right? So just like anything that you take in excess, you can have some adverse effects. So to be clear, a person with high levels of natural testosterone is not going to have health risk, because you have a physiological level of testosterone, and that's what you're meant to have. That's what naturally you produce. Therefore, that is not going to cause any health effect. What that means is that when a person starts taking testosterone exogenously, meaning injecting testosterone out of that physiological range, meaning that testosterone goes above 900, 1000 deciliter, milligrams per nanograms per deciliter, you're basically going to start having consequences. And some of these consequences are going to be that your body is going to start retaining more fluids and more water, right? What this leads to is that the blood pressure is going to increase, and that will lead to other complications. Trust me, blood pressure is the last thing that you want to have. It's going to damage your heart, it's going to damage your kidneys, and in less than no time, you're basically going to be in deathbed. Testosterone in excess can have increased sympathetic activity, meaning that the blood vessels are going to be more constricted. This is also going to cause high blood pressure. And like I said, you want to stay away from hypertension, basically. You're going to have altered lipid profiles. So you're going to have your cholesterol, your LDL cholesterol being high, right? You're not supposed to have that high. That's no bueno. And your HDL cholesterol, it's going to be low. So that's really the opposite of what you want. And this happens when you go above physiological testosterone levels. You can have fat and cholesterol that basically block the arteries. That's also going to lead to high blood pressure. And all of these can really cause left ventricular hypertrophy and other heart failure diseases that, when you think about it, like, is it really worth it? Like, if you have a family, if you have kids, if you have a life that you enjoy, a job, and something that, like, if you just want to look better because of the sake of looking better and taking pictures on Instagram, and just for some reason other than you don't care about anything else in your life, I would say don't do steroids. Like, it's not really worth it when you think about all these things. Like, if you have to ask yourself a couple of questions, and that is my life only based off how I look? Like, do I care more about how I look in my bodybuilding career, or do I care more about having kids, spending time with my family, having a good long life, not having to go to the doctor and worried about my heart and taking all these other shit that you have to take when you exceed the physiological level of testosterone, because now you're developing other complications that you didn't necessarily need and that you just wanted to look better. But sometimes just because we don't know better, guys, man, like I say, this is why I emphasize this. If you don't know any of this stuff, like if you're not aware, like if you don't understand the physiology of the body, like don't get into any of this stuff. And if you're going to go to a person that you can trust with medical knowledge and really have him explain to you, and you know, because everything has to make sense. You can't take steroids if you're 16, if you're 20, if you're 21. Like at this point, your body is still popping. Like you can make significant gains just because your body is naturally producing the most testosterone it's gonna ever produce. If you take steroids at 21, 16, you're gonna fuck yourself up, because that means that your body's never gonna actually produce as much testosterone as it would have if you let it. And the problem is that once you get into this, once you take testosterone and suppress your body, what's gonna happen is that when you come back, like sure, you can recover from it, but it's never gonna be the same as when you started. So every single time, it's gonna be lower and lower capacity for your body to produce testosterone. And you don't want this. You wanna do this. If you ever are gonna do this and take testosterone, the smartest way is to wait until your testosterone is naturally declining, to which point lower levels than physiological levels are going to produce a significant adverse effect on your body, which means that it makes sense for you to inject testosterone to supplement that testosterone that you naturally had, meaning that you're going to feel really good because you have a good amount of testosterone, but you're not going to get all of these crazy adverse effects that come from abusing super physiological levels of testosterone. Okay, so that's kind of the point that I was trying to make with this episode. I wanted to really bring up how testosterone works, and by the way, I wanted to talk about one more health effect, which is the hormonal imbalances you can have. So basically, your body naturally produces testosterone every day, right? And when you take testosterone, there's this thing called the negative feedback loop. And when you have very high levels of testosterone, your body will say, well, you know what? I don't need to produce more testosterone because I remember I can't go over this physiological level. So I need to stay in this range. And so once I've produced enough, it's enough, right? Your body has a certain amount of receptors. It functions at certain speed and it needs what it needs. It doesn't need more than what it needs. So when you have low testosterone, when you use testosterone for building muscle, for etc., your bodies will start producing more. And this is a feedback mechanism that once your body sees that your testosterone is low, it starts producing more. And then once your body sees that testosterone is rising too high, it will have an opposite effect to stop producing. Now, the thing about this is that the body doesn't really care if this testosterone comes from your body or this testosterone is injected. So if you inject testosterone, your body is going to think that it has very high testosterone levels, because it does. And it's going to stop its natural production, right? So there are a series of hormones in your hypothalamus that signal the testicles to produce testosterone. And those are going to basically be shut down. Now your body's going to be running on only the testosterone that you start injecting. And what happens is that because of this, your hypothalamus is not going to send the signal that it needs to your testicles to start producing more sperms, right? So your testicle size is basically gonna get smaller, because now that you're not using it, you basically, what you don't use, you lose, right? Any organ that loses its function, that is not being used, it's gonna be atrophied. So it's gonna get smaller because your body has to find a way to conserve energy and be effective, right? So if I have testosterone, what's the point of my balls if my balls are just giving me testosterone? So let's not care about my balls anymore. I'm already having the testosterone. And that's what happens, right? Now the problem with this is that if this happens for long enough, these cells will disappear, will die and never recover, right? So now you have to take a lot of steroids for this, but it could happen eventually. And like I said, there's always going to be some damage to these cells, to the point where once you get off testosterone, sure, your body will start producing testosterone again. Sometimes it'll take months, sometimes years to go back to normal. And even for some people, never have adverse effects. It depends on the person. But the level that it's going to return to is never going to be the same as what it started. So keep that in mind. That's why bodybuilders that start at 20 years old doing testosterone, they automatically have to be on TRT by the time they're 26, 27, because their body doesn't produce enough testosterone for them to feel good, to be within that physiological range. So That's one of the side effects of testosterone. It's not just like, yeah, I'm gonna take testosterone, I'm gonna suppress, I'm gonna take some HCG, whatever, right, and recover my body. No, the thing is, like, your body's not, it's never gonna be the same. So you have to think about that long term. If you just wanna look good for a few years, like, is it really worth it that your future, you might have to take testosterone for the rest of your life for you to be able to feel good? That's something else that you need to consider, right? So I don't necessarily think testosterone is bad. I think the misuse of it and the context for which you use it need to be considered. Like I said, if you're a person that has low levels of testosterone, you're in your mid 30s, 40s, and you really know that, you know, it's very low chance that you're gonna produce more testosterone, then sure, like, it's a good idea to get testosterone in. But if you're a 20-year-old that you just want to look good and you don't necessarily understand dieting, proper training, RIR, RPE, all this stuff, like, it's just like essential for you to train and like make progress, and you don't understand physiology of the body, you just want to look good and screw it, trust me, it's a terrible decision and you're gonna regret it later on in your life. I can tell you, because like I said, very young I made that mistake, and I didn't really think about anything else because I didn't have this type of information, and a person like me telling me, look dude, like, sure, you might not care about this right now, like, all you might care about is just having fun, you know, going out and messing around, but in the future you're gonna want to have a family, and these decisions that you're taking now, trust me, they're gonna haunt you and affect you in the future, right? So that's something that you might want to consider. And so, in summary, steroids are a synthetic version of naturally occurring compounds that you already have in your body. They have the same effects in your body that this natural compound would have, just with the exception that they are synthetic and that your liver will have to do the extra work. And so it's another health risk, right? Like, you will mess up your liver. But at the end of the day, like, if you're taking compounds to a level where it's physiological, you will have some beneficial effects. And if you're taking a compound you're abusing from it, or various compounds, like, typical, most guys go to the gym, they tell them you gotta take 500 milligrams of testosterone with this and that, deca, etc., right? So that's a terrible decision, because really you didn't need all that much to get the effect that you really are looking for. And secondly, these people are not thinking about your health. These people do not know how to explain why you need to take certain compounds, and that's something really, really important. Like, if you are, for fucking reason that you don't want to listen to me, and then you just go and buy stuff anyways, at least buy it from someone that can explain to you how exactly this molecule works in the body, because that means that at least this person is responsible, and they're not going to try, they're still going to harm you, but it's not going to be as bad, okay? So my recommendation really is that if you want to do steroids to enhance your physique, do it responsibly, educate yourself, because things can go horribly wrong, like very bad. Try dieting, try training properly for at least 3 to 5 years at least, and let's see what your genetic potential allows you, okay? Sometimes you'll end up happy where you can get without really doing anything. Like right now, I'm in a point where I'm really happy, and I've taken this last 2 years to really study fitness and nutrition and physiology, and now I'm studying medicine because I want to learn more about the body, because I want to know exactly how everything works. That way I can make decisions based off knowledge and not just random decisions. Like, if I'm doing an exercise, I want to understand why, right? So learn about fitness. Take your time to learn about dieting, learn about fitness if you want to build muscle. Once you like, you tell me, if you try for 5 years just to go natural, like, it really takes time to build your body, by the way. It's not going to be overnight. That's why people take steroids, because it's going to be, they're going to see pretty fast results. But that also comes with other things. That are these results permanent? No, right? Most of this, it's water retention. Most of these are things that you're going to lose because you simply don't know how to diet and how to train properly. So it's really just wasting your money. So, and that's a different topic. I'll talk in a different episode. But like I said, try training properly and learning about dieting for a few years. Just try 2 years first consistently, dieting properly. Like, if you were taking something, and then tell me if your body isn't already capable of doing something amazing, and you'll be surprised by where you'll get naturally. You'll be surprised by what you can do, like this how strong you can do by not taking anything, by just learning about this stuff, okay? And I know it doesn't sound sexy. It's not what you want to hear, and I understand that. I've been there, but the reality is that it's like the person that tells you that you can get rich, overnight. That really doesn't happen. It doesn't. Like, you're gonna have to put in some work. You're gonna have to eat different. You're gonna have to sleep more. You're gonna have to not party as much. You're gonna have to be disciplined, and really it's not as simple as just train and eat whatever. Like, if you want to have an actual outstanding body, you'll have to learn about this stuff and do things properly. Okay, so I hope this was eye opener. I hope I gave you a good amount of information here that you can use in your decision. The next few episodes, like I said, I'm gonna talk about specific compounds, the difference between them, and how you might want to use. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on that, just because I'm not trying to promote this. But like I said, a lot of people are not really doing this in an educated fashion, and so having some education, it's better than not having any when you're wanting to do something like this. Okay, so all right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you found this helpful, if you found some good info here, if you think this is gonna be a top Yi podcast, if you agree that this is gonna be one of the best podcasts out there as far as information, if you think this is gonna be really good for a lot of people, share this with a friend and just tell them, like, listen to this and let me know what you think. Okay, so all right, fam, so I'll see you in the next one.